But then I ended up having a C-section, which makes milk take a little longer. My son had a
Yeah.
tongue tie. Both my boys had tongue tie. I've since had a third, and he also had a tongue tie.
Oh,
So
wow.
breastfeeding has always been a bit challenging, but the challenging part was how much pressure I put on myself to do it, that I felt like if I didn't do it, I was failing. Like I was not a good mom because I couldn't even
Yeah.
birth this child the way it was supposed to be birthed. And now I can't even breastfeed it. So like, what is God even thinking giving me this baby? So that was kind of like my thought process.
Welcome, warriors. As a multi-passionate entrepreneur and creative, Emanuela Hall discovered her calling to equip leaders in becoming captivating speakers. After she witnessed so many struggling to show up on camera in 2020. With a background in theater, dance, yoga, and therapeutic drama, Emanuela brings a unique approach to the craft of speaking, guiding her clients to connect their bodies, breath, and spirit in order to confidently embody their presence and share their God given voices. As a speaker, speaking coach, and podcast host, Emanuela believes in the power of stories to change the world. And she loves helping others find and share theirs so that they can make the impact they were born to make. Emanuela is a Catholic homeschooling mama of 3 wild boys who loves deep conversations, food, and karaoke. She's on a mission to raise the voices of Christ-led leaders. Now, before we hear from Emanuela, I wanted to mention something I haven't talked about in a long time, and that's my merch store. I created some fun things with the Warrior Words logo. You know, things like t-shirts and water bottles and mugs and stickers. So you can wear or carry your wings. So check out the merch link in the show notes. It's a print on demand through Fourth Wall. And help me spread the word about the podcast. Now, grab a tissue and join Emanuela and me as she shares her experience with postpartum struggles and the unique way she's healing. Let's rock. Are you walking through a storm that feels like it will never end? Do you wonder if life's storms have stolen the beauty from your life for good? You're in the right place. My name is Heather, and like you, I've been through a storm or two and wondered if life would ever be beautiful again. Here we share warriors' words, stories of discovering beauty after battles, and the worth in your wounds. Pick up your sword or boxing gloves and join the battle. Your words are powerful, my friends. Make them warrior words. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are blessed to have Emanuela Hall with us today. Welcome to the Warrior Words podcast, Emanuela. How are you today?
I am doing really well. Thank you so much for having me, Heather, and for this incredible show and all of the stories that you share on here. I know they have touched so many of us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Um, and you are one of a couple of people that get mentioned on this podcast every once in a while. I know that I mentioned you with my conversation with Christine Bruce, and I think there were 1 or 2 other episodes that your name came up, and that's because we met through your Captivating Speakers Academy, and I learned so much from you that really helps me with this podcast. That helps me with my speaking. It helps me with my poise. And so that kind of gives away, well, it's on the screen here. You are a speaking coach. And so that is how we met. And during that time, you shared with us, the group that was going through at the time, that you had written a play. And so I would like it if you would share with our listeners what that play was about and why you wrote it.
Yes, I would love to do that. And it was so much fun having you in the program. And I'm so touched that it helps you with this podcast.
Yes.
So I wrote the play, I performed the play in 2019. So I think I wrote it the year before. And what prompted me to start writing that play? I hadn't written a play before, but my background is in musical theater and theater. I went to school for that. So I did have a background in plays in general, but had never been the
Mhm.
playwright of the plays. And one of my she was actually a yoga teacher of mine, but she had just transitioned into coaching. And I think this was when Instagram was like just starting to really take off. And she did this 30-day creativity challenge where every day for 30 days, you had to do something that was a creative outlet.
Okay.
And the irony for me is that I had been running for about a decade, I had been running creative programs for older adults and healthcare providers. So that was my business before I came into online coaching. I would do like drama and music and dance with older adults and even creative writing. And I had this realization that I had been doing this for other people, but hadn't been taking care of my own creative well being. And I had just had my second child in 2018. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write my birth story from my first child, which was 3 years previous to that.
Okay.
So I had already written down basically notes of everything that kind of happened from like the late pregnancy, birth. It was mostly around birth. So I took all those notes that I had and I just started writing every day. I started writing a play, but I didn't really know if I was going to do anything with that play. I was just like, this is my 30 days challenge. I'm going to write this play.
Okay.
And then when I got to the end of it, I saw something again on Instagram, I think, that was submissions for a festival they were having here called the Hamilton. So I live in Hamilton. It was the Hamilton Festival. It was a 10-minute play festival. I'm like, I can write a 10-minute play. I'm pretty sure this play is probably 10 minutes. I did have to cut it a little bit. But so I performed it there and then I performed it at our Fringe Festival that summer and I made it a little bit longer, but it was still a one-woman show, which is a great tongue twister. Side note, one woman play every time I try to say that. So I performed it that summer and it actually won Best in Venue, but I did a lot of
Wow.
marketing, a lot of like, come and see my play. And it was actually perfect that it was 20 minutes because it was a story about essentially my breastfeeding journey. It was called My Breast Self. But breastfeeding is just like one aspect of the whole birth postpartum experience. But for me, that was a very difficult piece of that journey because I
Mhm.
really, really, really wanted to do it. And I was really, really committed to doing it. I thought I had been so prepared. I read all the books. I even had a best friend who was a lactation consultant. We
Oh.
practiced with the doll beforehand. Like I was like, I got this. But then I ended up having a C-section, which makes milk take a little longer. My
Mhm.
son had a
Yeah.
tongue tie. Both my boys had tongue tie. I've since had a third, and he also had a tongue tie.
Oh,
So
wow.
breastfeeding has always been a bit challenging, but the challenging part was how much pressure I put on myself to do it, that I felt like if I didn't do it, I was failing. Like I was not a good mom because I couldn't even
Yeah.
birth this child the way it was supposed to be birthed. And now I can't even breastfeed it. So like what is God even thinking giving me this baby? So that was kind of like my thought process. And then I wrote the play honestly as my own for my own healing and my own just creative outlet. And it got me back on the stage, which was essentially the place where I wanted to be. Like I have always been a performer and I had been putting other people on stage. And finally, after years, I realized like this is where I want to be. I want to be telling stories. I want to be sharing them on stage. So I got to do that. And then I got to serve people who needed to hear that story. So, like I said, it was 20 minutes and it worked out great because a lot of people that came to see my play were currently in that stage of breastfeeding. So they only had a very short window to like leave the baby at home, run downtown, watch a 20-minute play, and go back. And they said that was actually perfect. So
Wow.
I didn't know that at the time, but I was like, oh yeah, that's a perfect, knowing your audience is what I always talk about. And at the time, I didn't know all that, but turns out it all worked out well. So that's kind of why I shared my story and why I turned it into a play, because plays and theater was just really my medium, right? Like for some
Hmm.
people, it's writing music, maybe it's painting, maybe it's even just cross stitching, right? But we all need like a way to express those stories.
Yes. And I think from hearing you describe that, God used this one play in its 10-minute form or its 20-minute form in multiple ways. It allowed you to help yourself to express your own creativity. It helped you heal from a difficult time, and it helped you get back to doing what you love.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have
And then
a
hopefully it helps.
threefold.
Yeah, hopefully it helps the people watching too, because
Yes.
I always tell my clients to like share the stories that you wish someone had shared with you when you were going through that. Um,
Yeah.
and I just only saw around me, this is totally my perception. We know our perception is not always reality, but my
Right.
perception was that it was easy for everyone else. I remember just going to a coffee shop and seeing other moms just like, lift up their shirt and feed their baby, and away they went. And they could be drinking a coffee and chit-chatting. Whereas for me, it was like I had to be in my bed with all the equipment and the pump and had to drink the tea. And I just was like, I can barely leave the house. And these people are making it look so
Yeah.
easy. Not reality, I think. But if someone had just said to me, I, it was hard for me too, or like that's exactly what I feel, then maybe I would have felt like I wasn't a total failure. So I wanted to share that story in hopes that maybe someone else going through that, or who had gone through it and still hadn't maybe healed, or was supporting someone going through that, could be like, oh, this is normal. Other people feel that way too.
Yeah. And I think, and that's why I do this podcast and why you do the work that you do, is to help people share those stories. And as an extension of that, help people listening and
Hmm.
experiencing those stories to realize that they're not alone. It
Yeah,
does happen to more than just one person. Almost everything that we can think of happens to more than one person. And I just, when we're in it, it really does feel like we are the only one and that we are alone. So,
absolutely. Yeah. We all just want to be seen, heard, and understood.
yes,
And
yes,
that's what stories do.
yes, they do. Yes, they do. So, I also know that, so you mentioned that you had a third child, and I
Hmm.
think there was a little bit of postpartum struggle with your third child as well. Is that something
Yeah.
you would like to also another
Yeah.
story you would like to share maybe to help someone else who's
Yeah. Yeah. So of course that play helps me kind of heal that story, but there's always going to be more stories, and I'm not
yes.
going to go make a new play of every birth. But I will say for me there was a lot of like, I have three boys, three C-sections. Every time breastfeeding was a challenge, but after the first time, I gave myself a little more grace, and B, just decided that I was going to enjoy it more. Now, I will say there was external circumstances in almost all three cases. So with my first son, my brother-in-law, who was 31, my husband's best friend, only brother, had passed away 4 months prior. So we were still in a very like place of grieving. And I think sometimes, you're also excited about the baby. You don't really know like that's going to hit you. And then having my husband kind of grieving while I was postpartum and needing more support. So there was that. Then,
Yes.
interestingly enough, with my second son, my mother-in-law passed away
Oh, wow.
6 months after having him. And she was a huge support with my first child because, she had lost her son and she was there a lot, helping around the house and just baby snuggles. She was great. And so they became very close, her and my first son. And then
Yeah.
losing her after my second child was like another, you know, now we're in this grief stage again. I mean, I was about 6 months postpartum, so I was past kind of that very, very intense stage, but still in a
Hmm.
difficult place.
Right.
And then 5 years later, um, it was 2023, but it was like post-COVID world. So, uh,
Yes.
which I think we can kind of get into, but during 2020, 2021, I is when I had my reversion back to my faith. And so that kind of COVID and my reversion kind of changed, well, really changed a lot of how I see the world and experience the world. As you know, when you
Yeah.
become a person of faith, kind of the scales come off, right? And you see a
Yes.
lot of things differently, a lot of things in our world, and you're like, oh my gosh, we've been living in this crazy world. And so I think I was like healing all of that. And that's when my husband and I were like, oh, we want to be living more Catholic. So let's be open to life. And God gave us another baby. I was 39, which
Wow.
isn't
Yeah.
crazy old, but I had him 6 weeks before my 40th birthday. Um, and again, I really didn't want a C-section, and I ended up with a third one, and I was just like, and then I ended up having a postpartum hemorrhage that time. So that was the added element of like, it wasn't ever just a run-of-the-mill birth, and which again, I now know there aren't very many of those. Like
No.
sadly, we live in a world where there is a lot of interventions that can lead to problems. There's just a lot of stuff going on with
Right.
us, with women, with humans. We have a lot of things happening these days. So there's very few like, oh, I just popped out a baby. That doesn't always happen. So I've made peace with that. But I also, yeah, I had this pretty traumatizing experience after the baby was born. I thought, okay, I've done this before. I'll just be going home tomorrow. And then suddenly they were rushing me almost back into the OR for DNC, but they didn't have to do that, thank God.
Mm.
And so after that, my hemoglobin dropped way, way down. Um, and then it was like a very slow recovery, having to take a lot of like, iron tinctures and beef liver. I was like on a very intense diet to kind of get my blood levels back.
Right.
But I experienced a lot of anxiety, like postpartum fear and anxiety. And it was mostly around, again, my baby's weight, like he and the breastfeeding, right? Because the thing is, you want to breastfeed, you want to feed your baby, but they put them on these charts and they want them to follow a curve. And
Yes.
that can cause a lot. I just, this is not medical advice, so just going to forewarn. But if any woman is there and she's like, but he's not following the curve, I'm just going to say, put the sheet down, okay? You know your baby. Watch your baby. Is the baby happy? Are they sleeping? Are they waking to eat? Are they lethargic or not? And I knew all that on paper, but I was just in this like fog, this world of like, but he's not gaining on the curve. And so, it
Yes.
sounds funny now, but at the time, I mean, I remember people talking to me and looking at me. I went to different practitioners. I went to like a naturopath, and they're like, he's looking great to me. I just had this
Yeah.
overwhelming fear. And I think now looking back, it was probably because of the trauma from the hemorrhage and like being rushed and taken away from him for hours, not knowing what was happening. That then I just had this constant fear that something bad was going to happen to me or the baby,
Mhm.
and that he like wasn't growing or he wasn't, yeah. So that was a really, really challenging time. I ended up working with a birth trauma coach like a year and a half later. It really helped to, and of course, just deepening my faith has helped a lot. And going through that third postpartum as a Christian, like I was raised Catholic, I was cradle Catholic, but I wouldn't say I was Christian, really. I wasn't
Yeah.
following Jesus and living my faith. But having Jesus there, knowing that he's there this time and really like
Yes.
talking to him, not just ignoring him.
Right. Right.
Was because he
Big
was there all
difference.
along, but I was just like, yeah, yeah, I don't need you. But then the third time having him there and really like knowing that I wasn't alone, it's such a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And And what you just said too, you just gave any woman listening permission to put that curve away and to put it out of their mind. And I really appreciate that. And yes, it's not medical advice, but when we focus too much on externals that are averages,
Right.
they
That's
are averages. And there are children who are bigger, there are children who are smaller. Different cultures have different growth rates, and you're not all babies are going to follow that exact curve. In fact, I had the opposite problem in that my son was never on that curve for the
yeah.
first year because he was too big.
Yeah.
He was off the whole
Off the
paper.
charts.
And
Love it.
and then the anxiety can go in the other direction too.
Mhm.
Okay, why? And you can spend hours, days, months ruminating on why. What what did I do wrong? What do I need to do to fix this? And that's not where we need to
Yeah.
be when we're trying to heal our own bodies and we're
Yeah.
trying to continue to grow a child. Because
Yeah.
even though they're outside of the womb, we're still raising them,
Oh,
feeding
yeah.
them, nurturing them, caring for them. And if we focus on those negatives or those external numbers, then we don't heal ourselves. We put our minds into a worse tizzy than
Yeah.
already. And so I thank you for giving people permission, whether they are in a postpartum struggle or they're just looking at these charts questioning. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's something I wish, and people did tell me, sometimes we just still have those like our own brain wants to keep replaying those things. But I really leaned on the wisdom of our elders too. Like we have to think sometimes we live in such an over information age. Like any little thing that's wrong with my kids, I'm like, Google, what does my phone tell me? And then I call my mom and she's like, "Are you crazy? It's just this and this." And it's just so simple, right? They just chatted with their friends
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh yeah, my friend had that." And my mom would always like make it so much simpler. She's like, "We didn't have curves. You got to think for before 100 years ago, women just had babies. We
Yeah.
just had our babies and we watched our babies and we paid attention but you're right, like the most important thing is how we are. And that's kind of what the end of my play. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to take a look. But the end of my play, my husband said to me, you could just stop breastfeeding. Like thanks be to God, we do have other sources to feed
Yes.
babies these days. And I was like, oh, because I realized as much as I wanted to breastfeed, it was causing me to not be the kind of mom I wanted to be because
Mm.
all I could think about was the pressure of myself. And it was really like my own pride,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I wanted to
Yeah.
do this, but was it best for our relationship? Was it best for just the entire dynamic of our family? So sometimes you have to make those hard choices and let go of what you wanted, how you wanted things to go or how you thought things should go. And yeah, I mean, breastfeeding, breast milk is amazing. It's like liquid gold. We know
Yeah.
that. But there are some circumstances where you have to make those tough calls. And by that point, my son was 6 months, and I was like, okay, he's going to be eating food now. So
Right.
let's.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Yeah.
And thank you. That's another permission too, because I think society does place that expectation on us. This is what you have to do.
Mhm.
And there are other options. And I think we put these pressures on ourselves. Sometimes our doctors put them on us, sometimes our friends,
Yeah.
lovingly, but mistakenly.
Instagram
Yeah. Oh,
with social
Instagram.
media.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could do a whole episode on Instagram,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Put the phone down. Just focus on your baby. Yeah.
Yes. But actually, though, you bring up that point because I happen to know that Instagram has been It's been a love-hatred thing of mine, but I
Yeah.
know it has been something that you have struggled with, played with,
Hmm.
tried to figure out. What is your relationship with Instagram these days?
Hmm. These days, I am not on it, so I have deleted the app. I don't know if it's forever. Um, it was just like a Holy Spirit led pause because so when I came into online business in 2020, then yeah, September of 2020, I started doing this coaching business. I pretty much built it all off of Instagram. So I can't hate on it because it is a tool and it can be very useful. It can be very, very helpful, especially if you're running a business, a ministry, um, nonprofit, or if you're just trying to share a message of something. Like it is a I am so grateful in some ways of our social media. I think we learn a lot, we get a lot of different perspectives. It is good that we can hear other voices other than, just whatever comes on the radio or TV that that the
Yeah.
government allows us to hear, right? It is great. It has its ups and downs. But it is designed to be addictive.
Yes.
That I mean, even the people who invented these things don't let their children use them.
I know
And
I've
they
read those.
probably
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, they probably use them sparingly too, and I'm only human. So, as much as I set the alarms and tell myself I'm only going to do it for this much time, I wouldn't say I was mentally addicted. Like I want to scroll Instagram when I'm on my couch. It wasn't that. It was literally just that my fingers and like my tactically, my hands just grab my phone.
Yeah.
Like it's there. And so I'll go, oh, okay, I have a text. And then I've checked the text. And then now I'm just got my phone in my hand. So let me just click that Instagram. And before,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? It's like a mindless, it's not, it became very mindless. And I, in general, have pulled back from marketing my business at the moment because I just needed to kind of like recenter. What I was finding, the big question I had at the end of 2025 was, what do I even desire?
Mm.
Is this even what I want? Because I think we have so many shiny objects on the internet. And again, I'm only human that every time someone's like, you need to make a course, you need to do that. I'm like, I need this, I need that. And it's hard to put that discernment filter on and be like, do I need this? Do I want this? Is this what God wants for me? Is this where, and as I've shared with you, my number one love is theater and whether I'm on stage or directing or putting something together. We just did Macbeth with my children's co-op, which was super fun.
Wow.
So I love the stage. I love telling stories and I love speaking. So I just kind of needed to take a break and kind of reassess where all of that fits into my life as a homeschooling mom who also is now currently writing another play. And then where does the business? So social media should be like the last thing in that priority list, right? And for me,
Right.
it was just kept bumping its way up to the top and I wasn't getting to the other stuff. So that's where I am with it. I don't hate it. I just
Yeah.
can't use it right now for a little
Yeah.
while.
Well, I think that's kind of where you kind of went where I wanted you to go with that question, and because I know that you have paused some things with your business that you're still doing some of it and you're still, but you have put that healthy pause so that you can answer those questions for yourself without that interruption, without that, let's call it addiction. Because it is when it's mindless like that, I think that, that's what that is. That's what it's done to our brains.
Mhm.
And, so you've put that pause on because you realized you needed to stop and think about what God wants for you, what you want for you, and how those two work together for the betterment of your health, the glory of God, and for your own family.
Mhm.
And I was on your final live, um, and it was one of those bittersweet moments where I applauded you for doing that brave step, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to miss hearing her.
Aw.
And so Because I also listened to your podcast too, and that is also temporarily paused. And I just think that you made a healthy choice, and you don't. It's not for you to think about what everybody else will miss or whatever. You have to do what's best for you and for your family and for God's will for all of you. And so, I still applaud you for taking
Oh,
that step and being brave and doing this discernment process. So,
thank you. I think sometimes like I've always been a forward facing kind of like performer, and that was part of it too.
yeah.
Like, is that really who I am, or is that who I've been told to be? You know, as a little girl, I've been doing a lot of my own like story work, taking my own course. And as a little girl, like I remember my parents being like, get on the table and sing us a song. Like I was just always having to perform. And it's so I had to ask myself, like, do I even like that? Or is this just who I've decided, who has the world has told me I am? So I do that. And I think I do. I enjoy the spotlight. I enjoy the attention. But I want it now that I'm a Christian, like I want it to come from bringing glory back to God. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
remove the vanity slowly, right? Like okay, it's great. I can sing and dance. This is fun, but like let's do it to glorify God or let's do it to spread his kingdom. And that's kind of when I do have sort of the reintroduction is kind of where I'm pointing this kind of a bigger ecosystem on really coming back to our identity. Identity is a big word for me. Like, who did God actually create you to be? And what is your actual voice? And how can you use that and bring even more presence to the work that you do and to the message that you want to share and speak it with more conviction and more clarity and more confidence as Christian leaders? Because I think in our very loud, busy world, right, we kind of hide that part a lot
Yeah.
because it's scary. I mean, it's scary to I know for me, like I don't live in a place that is very uh I don't know. It's I don't know a lot of Christian people, Catholic people. I'm starting to, but even doing what I do live, I wouldn't say like, "Oh, I'm a Catholic speaking coach." I would just say I'm a speaking coach because there wouldn't be a lot of businesses around here that I know of that would like, open their doors. So, it's just a time to kind of reconnect and decide, is this really, yeah, where we want to go? And I think we can't hear that if we're so inundated with consuming. We can't
Correct.
create if we are
Yes.
consuming. So you need to put the consumption on the back burner to really hear God's voice and then create from a place of peace.
Agreed. Agreed. And you asked a very powerful question there in when you said, oh, now I'm going to forget your words. Oh, when you said you were questioning whether you were doing things because society told you that's who you were, or
Yeah.
whether it really is who God created you to be and who you want to be. So I think that's a very powerful question that our listeners can apply to whatever situation they're in, regardless of Instagram or anything else, whatever situation you're in. It's an excellent question to ask. So
Yeah. We all
speaking of questions, I have
yeah.
two more that I
Okay.
always ask people. And the first one is, can you see any beauty in whether it's in an overall beauty of just your postpartum experiences, or maybe something more specific to a specific one of your specific births, but any beauty there that resulted from going through those struggles and healing during that time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for one, it always brings us closer to the Lord. Like that is the best part of all the
Yes.
struggle, of all the suffering. And I think it's so hard to communicate that to the world if you're not a Christian, but those sufferings always bring us closer to the Lord. Um, and for me, even close to my passions, reignited my passion, like I mentioned on the stage,
Yes.
and helped me to find my calling and to see how can I use these gifts to help other people. not just for my own vainglory,
Yeah.
but to actually help other people and help them share their mission and get their voices out there. So that is, now that I'm here on this side of the story. I'm sure there will be many, many more stories, but I'm here on this side of the stories that we've talked about. I can see how those things have led me to where I am today. And the play that I'm about to write is, or I am almost finished writing, I should say, is also kind of around childbirth, but more about post-abortive women and their stories. So
Oh,
I still have
wow.
the heart for that whole birth experience.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that when it's ready.
Thank you.
So, and then the last question I like to ask is if there is someone listening to this episode who is struggling postpartum, maybe it is with breastfeeding, maybe it is with anxiety, um, what would you say to that woman who maybe she doesn't even know what she doesn't know, and she needs some help to start that healing process?
Mm. There's a lot I would love to say. I think more than what we can say or what I could say is to let that person speak, to let them be heard. Um, but what I would say if they came and said all of those things that they were going through, um, just slow down. And in a way, I hated that advice of like, they're going to be 18 before you know it. So just
Yeah.
enjoy this. So I don't want to say it in that way, but truly there's some peace that comes with that kind of surrender to the season that we're in. And we know that everything changes, nothing stays the same. So we'll never be in the same spot that we're in now. So to just be gentler with yourself, um, detach from the outcome. Again, just that surrender, be gentler, speak kinder words to yourself, and know that the Lord is with you. Like just literally visualize Jesus with you in that room, in that dark. I remember one night I was nursing and I could see him like on the ottoman. I was rocking my baby and he was sitting on the ottoman and he just looked at me and was like, "Do you trust me now?" And I was like, "Okay," because like he'll get you through. Right? He's
Yeah.
there. So just talk to him. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that we are not, we are made for joy. And it can be so hard. I'm going through this right now myself too. It's like I rely on external things like, yeah, how's my health today? How do I feel? Did somebody annoy me or trigger me? How's my bank account? Like those external things can definitely impact our mood, and that's fair and that's valid.
Right.
But the joy no one can take. So just try to have more fun with it, even in the hard, if you can, just sometimes I try to see myself as like I'm watching a movie and like how do I want that movie to end or how do I want that story to go? You won't be
Yeah.
there forever.
I like that. I like that reminder of it's a moment in time, and while it can sometimes feel like forever,
Yeah.
the truth is the way life works, you won't be. You won't be there forever. And I love the reminder of joy.
Mm.
Joy and beauty, we can always find it if we look hard enough, right? If we look for
The
it.
world needs more of that, right? We've
Yes.
got
Yes.
so much of the other stuff.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
another podcast episode
That's
too.
another take two. But let's be a people of joy, even through the struggles. I know. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Heather, for
Well,
having me.
well, I am so glad that you came on and you shared bravely and vulnerably, and that you gave us several permissions to let a few things go. And I know I could have used that
Mm,
24 years ago.
yeah, we
So
all
I'm
could.
sure there are women that can use it today. So thank you. And I want to give you an opportunity. I know you said that you have paused a lot of things, but I know that you are still doing some things in the background. So I'd like to share you to share, not me to share,
Mm,
you to share where
yeah.
people can find you and learn more about your story if they want to learn more about your plays.
Yeah. So you can still come to my website, which is just my name, emanuelahall.com. and get on my email list. I have an elevator pitch I think I was going to put down here. So if you're doing
Mhm.
any kind of
Yep.
sharing, even if you don't do any public speaking, but you work for a business and you have to do networking, I mean, we all kind of need that elevator, that one liner that we can say, or those 30-second pitch. So you can grab that. And then, if you drop me a message on Instagram, I will once in a while go on my laptop and log in to make sure that I'm not missing any messages. So, and when I do get back on there, I'll be there. But if that is your place to hang out, or Facebook Messenger. But otherwise, yeah, come to my website and you'll find my email there.
And I'll drop the link to the elevator pitch in the show notes so people can
Thank
find
you.
it and just click right on there. So, so thank you again, Emanuela. I do appreciate your time and your bravery and your vulnerability. So
Well,
thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Are you who God wants you to be? Or are you performing a role someone else or society has told you to be? That was such a powerful question that Emanuela brought up near the end of the episode. However, I believe that that theme runs throughout the episode. Emanuela expressed the pain and difficulty she experienced with the expectations that are placed on most mothers: vaginal birth and exclusive breastfeeding. How many of us women have felt that pressure? It's how we're supposed to do it. And then there's the pressure of the charts. And is our child doing everything he or she is supposed to do when they're supposed to do it? All of that can lead to an enormous amount of anxiety. Am I doing it right? Am I a real mother? Not to mention that all of this pressure and anxiety comes at a time when our hormones are running amok. Our bodies are trying to heal. And we are trying to raise this tiny human God has placed in our care. But Emanuela gave us permission to let go of some of these shoulds and have tos that society can unfortunately place on us. And to be honest, sometimes we put on ourselves. Now, of course, caveat here: if there is a medical issue with you or your child, please seek help. Or if you suspect a mental health issue with yourself, also, please seek help. But Emanuela also mentioned, like, this is a great time to confide in those experienced women in your life who can help: mothers, aunts, grandmothers, sisters, friends. They can offer you their hard won wisdom. And they know you personally. You're not just a chart. And that's how God designed it. And just like in my episode, it was a recent episode with Patty Ariza, Jesus asked Emanuela if she trusted him. Trusting Jesus seems to be a recurring theme on several of my recent episodes. So that tells me maybe he's trying to get that message to those of us with ears to hear. So trust Jesus with your health, with your children, with your role or job in life, with your decision to press pause or move forward. And lean into Him and His divinely ordered ways of healing, one of which Emanuela mentioned today, and that is creativity. Now, you don't have to write a play like Emanuela has done and is currently doing, but you can express yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, fears, worries, anxiety, joy, and beauty in numerous ways: painting, drawing, sewing, journaling, coloring in a coloring book, taking photos, singing, speaking, dancing, and probably a dozen or more additional ways. Creativity is healing. Creativity is a gift from God. Use your gift in a way that allows your mind and soul to heal. Leave me a comment on YouTube, Rumble, or Spotify, or reply to my email and let me know how you are being creative. Something to think about this week. Until we meet again, armor up, fight the good fight, seek beauty, and make your words warrior words. God bless.